Thanks for joining. We'll get started when everybody's on. 1 second. Okay, great. Looks like we've got a good group on. My name is Lynn Tremonti. I'm with the Ohio Immigrant Alliance, and I'm here with some very brave leaders from Mauritania and other countries who are speaking out, probably for one of the first times in English, about just the ongoing apartheid in Mauritania, as well as the spate of violence most recently that has terrorized families and left many people dead and tortured. So this whole press conference, I will put a content warning up for the whole thing. We will try to be as careful as we can. And we, certainly it's very disturbing, all the images and videos that are circulating. But I just want to make sure people know this is going to be a pretty upsetting conversation. If you if you don't want to be on, you can get off now. And we're also going to start actually just by showing a video. And I want to give a content warning. The video doesn't have blood in it. It's very graphic in terms of what it's doing. And the thing I want to tell you too is that these videos circulate constantly among Mauritanian diaspora. People who fled genocide, who fled land grabbing, who fled slavery, are seeing images of their country and people in their ethnic groups and people that look like them and their family members beaten, bloody, murdered. It's constant. And so this is circulating to social media, but it hasn't been shared with the English-speaking world. And it's not right that people who've already been through this trauma have to be the only ones to see this. Others of us who are in positions to do something need to be the ones that are paying attention. So with that, you have a content warning of 1 minute. We're about to show a video. If you want to not see it, you are welcome to walk away from the screen and come back in 1 minute. Okay, and Carolyn's gonna cue that up for us.
Hi everyone, sorry for being late.
Thank you, Carolyn. Thanks a lot. So I think the sound got a little bit messed up, and I'll send you the link later, but what you just saw there was the Mauritanian police throwing a grenade into somebody's home. And then later, if you hear the right sound, you'll hear the people screaming. And then you see them giving them, slapping themselves in their hands or whatever. That's just one example. And the people in that home did nothing wrong. They didn't deserve that treatment. This is the callousness and the impunity that the Mauritanian government has been able to act on and in plain sight. So we're going to hear from some very brave leaders today from the Mauritanian leadership and the Mauritanian Network for Human Rights in the United States, as well as some important national groups that are supporting this effort. And the effort is to end the apartheid in Mauritania, stop the violence, allow Black people to live peacefully in their country in Mauritania, and then for the US and Europe to have safe migration pathways, full asylum access, and temporary protected status as an immediate short-term need for Mauritanians in the United States. So I think Abdoulaye Sow is going to be the first one to speak, if you're ready, Abdoulaye.
Yes, hi everyone. Thank you, Lynn, for the invite. Can you hear me?
Perfectly.
Okay. As you said, what we saw in the video was just beyond uh, what we can all imagine. You know, a police officer throwing this kind of stuff in a house where it can hit anyone. You know, maybe there are babies there, maybe there are elderly people. So it is just an example of what we have been saying for years. Mauritanian government is an apartheid regime that has no respect for human rights whatsoever. And this is not new. It has been going on for decades. 3 or 4 years ago, in Cincinnati, we celebrated what we call the 30th anniversary of the Mauritanian genocide. So we have done this to raise awareness, to inform the general public uh, of what's going on in Mauritania, and also to prevent these atrocities to happen again in the future. But what is happening right now in Mauritania, especially in this last week, is just telling us that they're not backing down. And what we have experienced in the past, the deportation, the mass killings, can happen again. And this video is a clear example of that. The Mauritanian regime will always find an argument, an occasion, an opportunity to push out the Black population. And recently we heard them saying that, okay, these are strangers, they don't belong here. And we know that many of these kids cannot get their proper documentation. They're stateless, they cannot have IDs. Some of them cannot go to school. So they're here on the street protesting the killing of this young man, I mean, two now, but they're also using this to show the frustration they go through every day. It's in every level, not only the documentation, but frustration comes from also not being able to have any opportunity in these countries. So we're calling on the United States, we're calling on the United Nations, the African Union. We cannot allow this kind of stuff to happen these days. We have to address the real issues in Mauritania. We have to. It's time for them to have serious talk to the Mauritanian government to stop this and to acknowledge that the Black people are part of Mauritanian history. They just have to assume it, and do what they have to do, which is respect their basic human right. And also, I wanted to take this opportunity to address American officials, government, especially the need for protection for Black Mauritanians. We cannot send back people to government that have no uh, respect for human dignity. You cannot do that. Cannot do that. If we are fighting authorities, dictators around the world, Mauritanians should not be ignored. And this is a clear example that what's happening in Mauritania is an apartheid regime, and we have to do everything we can to put an end to it. I'm going to stop now. I'm sorry for being late. I'm trying to use a few minutes that I have here. So again, I thank you, Lynn, for organizing this. You and everybody else who are taking their time to bring us all together. And I hopefully the message can go out there. But what I'm seeing right now make me worried. It makes me sad, and hopefully, something can come out of this meeting, and hopefully we'll be able to end, this kind of stuff in Mauritania. Thank you.
Thank you, Ablai. I mean, you're the one who's so brave and speaking up about this, and you've never failed to do so. So thank you. Before we turn to Amadou Dia, I wanted to mention just a little bit of context about why this is happening now. There were legislative elections in Mauritania. There was preordained decisions about who would win. The person supposedly elected to run the National Assembly was one of the perpetrators of the genocide, and people are angry. There are people who have missing husbands and fathers, and that's never been acknowledged. And the genocide is actually denied by many people, even though there's a place missing at the dinner table. After that, the government arrested Biram Da Abeid, who is a very well-known anti-slavery activist. There were protests, and then the killings began. And I think with that, I'll turn it over to Amadou Dia, also with the Mauritanian Network of Human Rights in US, to talk to us a little bit about what happened with Umar Job and Mohamed Lamine, and what's going on now in Mauritania.
Yes, thank you guys. Thank you, Ablai, uh, for speaking about this issue, and we all working together and to get the message out. Thank you, Lynn, and the other group for organizing this and giving you time for this Mauritanian cause we fighting for. So in the end of May, we have seen uh, Umar Job. He was literally tortured and end up being dead inside a police place. And the reason why we all know by now, the reason why they was trying to get his money, take his money away from him, and he refused. And his brother come to rescue him, and then end up giving them at least just to get away, and gave $25, 25, we call it 25,000, but it's like I think it's about, I would say about $80, something like that, uh, just so he can go. And then they left, and then after that, the following day, I guess he went to the hospital just to check on his wife, or he took his wife there, from what we heard from his brothers. So while he was coming back, I guess his car broke down, and he was working on fixing his car, whatever he was doing. And then the police were there, and I guess they recognized him. Hey, maybe this is the guy who had the money yesterday. So because he refused to give us the money, they told him, you have to come with us, because uh, the head of police there told us to go get you, to find you. They need you at the police station. And I guess I don't know what happened in that, but he ended up going with them, and they took him with, and then he walked there with his feet, and he got out dead, end up in the morgue of the hospital. And so it's very alarming situation happening in Mauritania. Not long ago, we had Sufi. He was literally killed. So basically, the police in Mauritania, they have their own tribunal. Like, they can literally uh, you know do whatever they want inside that those cells, or inside that police station. You know, they can make their own judgment and then decide, what to do with that person. So that's what happened to Umar. That's why there was a lot of, riot, and people, protesting of this injustice. And then the following day, we end up with Mohammed Lamine dead, shot by a police officer um, while he was protesting, and all that. It's hard to believe. One day speaking, the reason why these people got killed, either they telling you that, okay, there was some altercation between those guys, and it's a gang, you know, he's part of those gangs. And then somehow they was fighting, and then we took him. That's what they said about Omar. And then we took him. He was beaten, you know, which is a lie. And then Muhammad Lamin ended up being shot dead, you know. And then they said he was trying to come to the police station, trying to, just grab something and do harm them. And then they shot him dead. And all that was just a lie. It was not true. So this is what's really happening. And what happened? So with the uh, the autopsy for Omar, we don't even know until now the reason why he's dead, because they send it to Senegal. I guess in Dakar. Dakar said they don't have enough samples to be able to run the autopsy, and then they send it to Morocco, and then Morocco said the same thing. Which is in Tunisia, and we don't know what's going on out there. And but the Senegal and Morocco said we don't have enough, like the sample we have is not enough for us to run the autopsy, And all this is just games they playing, because it's a Mauritanian doctor who took those samples from Omar. And the last time I checked, he was still in that morgue. He's still there. He's not even buried yet. So I'm not sure before we start this meeting, if he's buried or not. But I know Mohammed Lamin, the government said they're not doing any autopsy. They told the family, hey, you don't have a choice. Either you took him, you bury him, or we will come in and get him and bury him. They said, no, we want a justice. We want to know how he got killed. They said, no, don't worry about that. We'll take care of that. And then they refuse. Guess what? They come in, the government comes in, step in, and then took Muhammad Lamin and buried him without even his family consent, you know? So, and this is it's very sad for the families going through this. I'm not even talking about now they put in some activists in trial starting from yesterday. They going in the houses, grabbing kids, 13, 14-year olds, grabbing them and putting them in jails, taking them somewhere. Families looking around, hey, what is my son? What is my daughter? What is my everybody just going crazy. And then they cut off the internet, so there's no communication. We don't even know what's going on in Mauritania right now. It's very alarming. And and one of the reason why so many people are leaving Mauritania today, it's because of the government of Mauritania has been trying to extinguish, its black citizen for decades, you know, from the genocide of the late 80s and the 90s to racial discrimination, slavery, land grabbing, denying citizenship, erase their languages from, official businesses, and many other matter that affect people daily life, and now the choices is for most of these young black kids are traveling, making these dangerous journeys. It's like death of, some of these people. So Mauritanian had decided between staying at home, especially those black, staying at home and suffer persecution, and make difficult decisions. So they have these two choices to make, So the difficult decision for them is to flee, but risking their life in the process, which is going through Mexico. It's you get in deprived, whatever you have, they will take it from you. Mauritanian had decided between staying, and then they left. And are mistreated and robbed by Mexican authorities, when traveling through Mexico to reach the US, And as of right now, we are stepping, as you all know, we are stepping up to welcome and house people as Mauritanian community, but they need access to legal resources in order to apply for asylum. We are pleading with the US government to provide TPS for Mauritanian, because, like Ablai said, they will risk persecution if they are deported, So, and Mauritanian Network for Human Rights, which the movement, the organization we represent here today, is actively seeking racial justice for Black Mauritanian who have suffered from it, including but not limited to death in the 90s, deportation, slavery, violation of human rights at every level. So, and this is one of the topics I want to just talk about it.
Well, thank you, Amadou, so much. You've been an amazing leader, and I learned a lot from you. I want to add a couple things to what you said. One is that we have some video of Mohamed Lamine after he was shot being carried to somewhere, and then his body laid out, and that will be in the background. Or we don't want to show this, but the leadership, the diaspora leadership said we have to. It's not something we want anybody to have to see, but it's going on, and we have this is the evidence we have to prove that the Mauritanian government is lying. What they did was, since those videos came out, they shut down the internet, like Amadou said, the cellular internet, to try to stop the videos from leaking out. They did that after the 2019 presidential elections. They did it earlier this year. They do it all the time to try to reduce their exposure of what they're doing to people, but the international community cannot let that happen. And the last thing I want to mention is that Umar Diop was about to seek asylum in the United States, and he got killed. You know, what more proof is there that this country is going after its own citizens and with impunity? So with that, we're going to hear from Aita Wellington at CUSP. Go ahead, Aita.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for being present today in solidarity with our Mauritanian brothers and sisters. I am with Communities United for Status and Protection, CUSP, and I co-lead the Mauritanian Working Group for the TPS campaign. I'm here today to lift up TPS, Temporary Protected Status. I know that many people usually only look to different more permanent statuses because there's more reward there. However, we also have an option for deferred action, temporary protected status, which is what we've been seeking for Mauritania for several years. There's been some engagement from elected officials in different parts of the country, from members of Congress, from the administration, human rights groups that have also written about what's happening in Mauritania in support of this TPS campaign. Since those things started, things have ramped up. In this past week, they have escalated exponentially. It's making it more and more dangerous for Black Mauritanians to be safely in their countries. If they were to be deported to Mauritania, they will be in grave danger. Their lives will be at risk just because the government is unwilling and unable to protect them and is actually taking action against their own citizens. So we are asking you to reach out to your elected official, to the administration, just to let them know that you are in support of not only asylum application being quickly processed for Mauritanian asylum applicants, because yes, they do meet some of the requirements that can give them the credible fair interview and then put them on the asylum application track. However, a lot of these interviews are not happening until late next year, for example. There are people who've been waiting for years and years, and having that temporary protected status give them a sense of at least safety, that where I am right now, I am not at risk. My family's not at risk, those that I'm with in the United States. And that's what we're calling on the government to accomplish. We know it's possible. We've seen it happen when there was time to take quick action. We've seen it with the Ukraine, we've seen it with Afghanistan, we've seen it with multiple countries over the years. And we wonder how we can, I don't even know, change the narrative, but how we can keep saying, hey, there are Black people in Mauritania and in the US right now who are hurting, who are being enslaved, who are being persecuted, attacked by their own government, and who need help. You know, we're on the eve of Juneteenth, and we are thinking, okay, we're celebrating the end of slavery in the United States, but a country that's just across the Atlantic from us is still suffering through that. I am a Senegalese citizen, but I have a lot of family members in Mauritania, so I know what's been happening. I have a lot of loved ones who are Mauritanians here, so that's why I am involved in this campaign. And I'm asking you all, because I'm seeing that we have about 42 people right now attending. You are all plugged into various networks. You all have certain sphere of power and influence you have. Use some of that to lift up temporary protected status for Mauritania. Wherever you are and you're hearing somebody say, hey, how about, you know, helping Mauritania attend this TPS that they so badly need? And also a quick and faster processing of the asylum application is really needed as we speak. So those are the things that I wanted to lift up. They're not mutually exclusive. I wanna make a point there. This is a bridge, because applying for TPS doesn't preclude you or exclude you from applying for asylum, and vice versa. You can apply for both concurrently. You can apply for one and the other. Just that the country condition that people are going, that are being lived in Mauritania right now, are similar to other countries that have been given asylum and TPS in the past. So we're asking the US government to treat the Black Mauritanian citizens who are at risk for death from their government, to offer them the same protection they have been given to various populations and communities in the past. And that's just what I'm here for. If you have any question about TPS for Mauritania, we have a working group. We meet bi-weekly. So every other week we meet on Zoom Wednesdays. So the next meeting is actually tomorrow. You can write a letter. You can reach out to humanitarian activist organization and ask them to also support TPS for Mauritania. You can share our social media toolkits that we usually share on TPS Tuesdays and when we have big events happening. And you can reach out to any of us from the working group, and we are more than willing to speak to your organization, to talk to you directly, to explain what TPS is, why it matters. On this call right now, I have Hadi, I have Lynn, Abdullah, Amadou, and myself and Carolyn. We all are resources. Just feel free to ask us any question about TPS and how you can get involved, because we are here to make sure that the message is heard and widely understood. Okay.
Thank you, Aida. That was really passionate and very well said. And last but not least, we're going to hear from Hadi Gassama. She's with the UndocuBlack Network, which has been one of the partner organizations for the Mauritanian Network for years now. So thank you, Hadi, for being here.
Thanks so much, Lynn. I first want to, I think, just pause for a second to ground us in, some of the things that we discussed. Just have, even if it's just 5 seconds. I do that because, in spite of the number of years I've been working on Mauritania in particular, or even past experience representing survivors of torture, some of who have come from Mauritania, I don't want to normalize any of the things that we've seen today, not the videos, not the accounts that our community leaders and activists have spoken about. I don't want to take for granted and jump right into our policy asks or anything of that nature. The fact of the matter is, this is what we're bearing witness to today is an egregious example of human suffering at the hands of other human beings on the basis of their race or ethnicity, right? And it is not normal. It is not okay. And the good thing is that it does not have to continue. All of us in this room and all of the folks in our network have the power to stop this or protect people from not having to experience this. Whether that looks like strategizing with our working group that Aita talked about and pushing for forms of affirmative relief like asylum, or temporary relief like temporary protected status, or those of you on this call who are representatives of the media writing about this and shedding more light to it. One of the key things that our activists and community leaders have named is that there is a direct agenda by the Mauritanian government to hide this information. They've gone as far as to shut down internet so these horrific videos and images don't get disseminated. You can write about it to shed light that this is in fact going on. I want to be clear that the examples that were named here, whether it's like police brutality, literal murder, land grabbing, erasure of languages. These are all very key components of ethnic cleansing. And that is what is happening in Mauritania today. Like, if you look at the legal standard under international law for what ethnic cleansing is and looks like and how it starts, the examples that the folks on this call today have given correlate specifically with that definition. And one of the things that we say in the States or in any kind of human rights, immigration rights movement, when atrocities happen and things happen, it's this like constant notion of never again, right? This is our opportunity for that never again. And for Mauritania, quite frankly, it's been going on for far too long. And these latest developments, just kind of, again, underscore that this government is relentless in its pursuit to Arabize its population. And they will do that by any means necessary, whether it's grabbing the land of people, whether it's erasing their languages, whether it's literally killing them to the extent of throwing a grenade into somebody's home, knowing that people, including children and elderly and other vulnerable populations, could be killed, or just blatantly murdering people in broad daylight and refusing them even the sacred right of burial or autopsy just to even know the exact cause of death. These things are not isolated incidents. And I think everyone on this call has done a really good job of explaining that this is a very deliberate and systemic thing that the Mauritanian government has been doing for quite some time. So I guess my question to you all on this call is, what is it that you're going to do about it? And there are various different avenues. We've already listed out some of our demands from the US government, which is protect Mauritanians who are in the United States by ensuring that they're not deported to these harmful conditions. Quite frankly, stop your imperialist agendas by cooperating with the Mauritanian government so you can have access to military bases for proxy wars and your so-called anti-terrorism efforts that you're doing. But I think specifically to folks here who are part of the media, this is an underwritten about, under-highlighted, quite sometimes willfully ignored issue that is going on. There is no reason that in 2023, there's a country where other human beings can literally own other human beings, and there's not a huge media uproar about it. So I implore those of you who are part of the media on this call today to, at the very least, just write about the fact that this is happening. There are policy experts who talk to the administration and members of Congress on a daily basis. By all means, highlight our asks, but I think what's important here is just to really shed light that this is happening and that it can be stopped. And I'll stop there and kick it over to Lynn. Thanks.
Wow, thank you, Hattie. That was really powerful. We're going to move now into questions and answers. We are inviting reporters to answer questions or to ask questions. If you are an ally, a human rights leader, or a congressional or administrative office, you can ask your questions on email. We realize you probably don't want them on the record. So you can email admin@ohioimmigrant.org and we will route your question to the right person. But for members of the media, either put your question in the Q&A function or raise your hand, and please tell us your full name and outlet when you speak. Thank you. I'll pause for questions to queue. Okay, I see we have one in the chat already. Is there a change petition that we can sign or create to spread the word? Who would like to take that? Well, I can let you know that we are doing a joint statement regarding these issues. And so we will make sure that we also have a version that individuals can sign on, but there will be an organizational sign-on letter. And if you're from an organization and you want to make sure you get that, you can also email the address that's in the chat. Okay, we've got 2 hands raised. Let's unmute Rafael Bernal.
Hello, thank you for having this. When two Ohio legislators, a bipartisan group, called on the Biden administration to pay attention to this issue, and we published a story on it at the Hill. Sorry, I didn't mention my newspaper from the Hill. The Mauritanian government pushed back rather aggressively. They talked about how in the early 80s, slavery was made illegal and then criminalized later on. Was it 5 years ago or something like that? But they basically said the practice is over. What is behind that idea that it's sort of confined to like very rural spaces and hardly ever happens? Is this just a talking point?
Let's see, Amadou or Bly, would you guys like to take that? Are you still on?
Yeah.
Okay.
I can give my perspective about it, and thank you, by the way, for covering this. I read the article from the Hill. Was great. As far as slavery in Mauritania, what I'm asking you, the reporter, if you can just travel, if you can go to Mauritania and see how people live. You'll see that a country where Black people are the ones who are doing the hardest jobs. And when you drive around, you see the light-skinned people, which are the Arabics, are the ones who are living in nice areas, driving good cars. And you, if you have a chance to enter the administration buildings, you'll see that they occupy all executive positions, and the Black people are the ones who are doing security, the one who are cleaning around and doing all kind of low-level jobs. Now, it's not slavery. When you look at it, it can be just a lack of opportunity given to a specific group of people. But in Mauritania, I'm not sure how familiar you are in Arabic culture, because this is not only in Mauritania, but a Black person, when you go to visit Arabic countries, they are mainly considered are slaves. You go to some people, some country, the way to name a Black person is Abd. Abd literally means slave. Like if you see a Black person, you don't know their name, you say, hi Abd, means these slaves. So it's hard for them to acknowledge that they have the same status as a Black person. It's hard for many of them to consider a Black person as being a full citizen like them. So I think the government has a lot to work to do on that side. Criminalizing slavery is just for, to me, it's just for external consumption. It's just for, okay, let's put a statement there, let's put a law there, but that law will never be applied, because when you look at it, okay, now they criminalize it, but have they ever prosecuted someone? Maybe since 2007 to now, maybe 16 years ago, if you count it, maybe a couple of people have faced justice for enslaving people, and we know it's not true. It's just because this law is there, and it will never be enforced. It will never be enforced. They just if there are some very flagrant cases that they see, maybe they will grab that person, put him in jail a couple of months, and then free them. That's how it is. They're not really serious about it. So that's all I have to say.
I'll just quickly jump in because I think Aita made a good point of mentioning that we're on the eve of Juneteenth. Even when you look at the United States' own history of slavery and the duration of time between when the Emancipation Proclamation was signed versus the duration of time that all Black folks who were enslaved understood that they were now free, and that local mechanisms in place made it so that they could actually truly live freely. That was several years. So we're talking about a country that just very, very recently in its history, quote unquote, abolished or outlawed, or I guess criminalized slavery. I also want to make the distinction. I think, Abdullah, thank you for, highlighting examples of just what sounds like racial disparities in terms of quality of life and opportunities for work. But outside of, yes, Black folks, have quote unquote menial labor that's oftentimes working for, a more well-to-do Arab person, that's still in its own way employment. That is not what we are talking about here. I don't want you to miss the point that there are still human beings who are owned by other human beings in Mauritania. It's not that we're using slavery lightly to describe this idea of you have a, low paying job or something like that. I mean, I have anecdotal stories of trying to work with refugee populations where I've literally been asked, if we were to be resettled or whatever, can my slave come? So I'm not, I really want to highlight and underscore that when the Mauritanian government says the practice of a human being owning another human being does not exist, it's just untrue. I think Abdullah makes a good point of saying even the passage of that law stating that, slavery is criminalized was like a PR stunt. While yes, there are people in the city who have, low paying jobs or whatever, that's, that's racial disparities. We have that even here in the US. But I don't want it to get lost that when we're saying slavery, that's what we're talking about. When we're saying slavery, we literally mean slavery, like another human being has ownership of another human being. And it's like a long-standing history of this practice that goes even before this particular Mauritanian government was in power. Like we're talking, centuries old practices that are still ongoing. So I just really want to make that clear.
That's really great to clarify that. And I wanted to add that the slavery situation is in the rural parts of the country. So that's not true, but the gaslighting part is that that's not a problem. Right now, Ohio Immigrant Alliance is working with 3 brothers who were raised as slaves in a village. Their father wanted them to go to school. They were not allowed to go to school. They're extremely intelligent. They said that in the village where they live, there are children who don't even know who their parents are because the children belong to the Moors, not to their families. I think, it may seem like we just don't want to believe it, but when you have somebody sitting there and they're right in front of you, that's all the proof you need. Sorry. Let's see if we have any other questions. Let's see. Go ahead and raise your hand if you want to ask a question, to come off mute. Mohammed, could you tell us your affiliate, your reporter outlet and your full name, please? Oh, we're going to unmute Mohammed and then we'll go with Elliot after Mohammed. Should I unmute him? Okay. We're having a little trouble there and we're going to go next to Elliot. I think that you're already unmuted. Elliot Spaggins, please.
Hi, good morning, and I apologize if this was already addressed. I had to step out for about 4 or 5 minutes for a plumbing emergency. So Could you address, or did you address, and again, if you did, just ignore me, how Mauritanians are arriving in the United States through Mexico? I did hear some discussion of the route through Mexico, but how, what routes are they taking? How, flying somewhere, going through the Darien Gap? I don't know how, I happen to live in San Diego, and I know that I have heard some numbers from the Border Patrol that are quite high of Mauritanians coming through San Diego, the desert in California, in Yuma, Arizona. Could you talk about like how the mechanics of how that works? Who are they paying smugglers? How much? How does that work? And also, I know this is maybe a little bit off topic, but the numbers are also quite high for Senegalese. Are you following that as well? And can you address why that's happening?
Okay, that was a lot of different questions. So let me see if I can
basically just the route of how why Mauritanians are getting to the United States. And if you could, the Senegalese.
Right. I don't know that we would give up many details because it's very dangerous.
Okay.
We don't want to put more people in danger, but if anybody would like to speak to this, or maybe we can take it offline.
I mean, happy to just give the general information, which is, I mean, how all other migrants are getting to the southern border from South America, like you said, through the Darien Gap,
Okay.
To the border. I don't know so much about paying smugglers or sort of the nature of that, but yeah, Senegalese, Haitians, Central Americans,
Okay.
Venezuelans, it's all kind of the same unit. I think what we can highlight, or at least from our point of view from UndocuBlack, is the disparity in experience and treatment of those folks as they make that journey up. Whether it's Mauritanians, Senegalese, Haitians, we've seen that they've had heightened levels of discrimination, each sort of way, higher risk for extortion, instances of sexual violence, particularly towards women who are making those journeys. We don't have much detail on, I think, what you're asking about, like who they're paying or if they're paying.
Yeah, no, but they are going, you mentioned they are going through the Darien Gap.
It is, yeah, it is that same route. And
Okay.
again, just wanting to underscore, for anyone to take such an arduous and dangerous journey, they must be fleeing from something a lot more horrific.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just this past week, another man died on his journey. He was in an airplane and had a heart attack, but at least a total of 9 men have died along the journey. And they've also been trapped in different parts of Mexico, as I think Amadou mentioned, by the Mexican authorities, and beaten up and tased. That's what people are going through. So why don't we have a safe pathway for them? Why don't we have a way for people to apply to get free and to get protection? None of the processing centers that the administration announced are in Africa. So people are still going to have to make some dangerous journey in order to risk their lives just to keep their life. So I think that we were having trouble muting a couple people, and we're going to see if there's any reporters else who want to ask questions. Okay. All right, well, maybe I'll turn it back to Amadou to just give us some parting thoughts. If you're still there, Amadou, what do you want people to do with the information they just learned?
Yeah, sorry, I was trying to locate my microphone. Thank you, everyone, in this call, and we just would like to make sure this or these messages or all these information get to the world, and everybody should know about what's going on as right now in Mauritania. Uh, I'm not sure why, because I'm having a hard time seeing some of these horrific videos circulating in the media, especially with the like the bigger media, because I know if something happens somewhere in the world, you will see it, instantly. But for some reason, I don't know what's going on with the outlet media, or they pick and choosing, or like Heidi Gassama said, she mentioned about, sometime the U.S. Only focus on their interests mostly, you know, um, or if they want to do something, they want to deal with a country, they just want to keep it quiet or just keep it not to say nothing, because they don't want to jeopardize the relationship with that country. But this is about human rights. We really need that to be spread. We are fighting for the human rights for, for everyone, every human being in the world, especially we are working very hard, especially to get that, known, especially in Mauritania. It's happening right now in 2023. And we just want justice, we just want justice, and we just want a peace and justice, and be part of the, daily, you know, life of the country, in Mauritania. We're not leaving the country. We left because we don't have any choices, you know but every minute, every chance we get, we'll go back. We can resettle, you know, and there's nothing better than your country, you know, and that's all we asking for, to world open their eyes and see what's going on. And then it's a system, we're not saying every Hassani there, every Arabic, it's a bad person. We're not saying that. It's a system, we all know that, the system is the government, and the government doing, even though some people don't agree with it, you know but they are doing whatever they want to do, and it's just harming other folks.
Thank you, Amadou. Thanks, everybody, for listening in. Spread the word, please. If you want the recording, reach out, and appreciate you spending some time with us today. Bye.
Thank you.